All right, so these are our main genetic terms, and eventually, like, you guys won't even have to study this or anything like that, okay? But basically, we come up with these things called genotypes, okay? So genotypes are the genes that are present in the organism, okay? There's another type of word that's very similar, but I'll kind of explain the difference, okay? So genotype, like the name indicates, it's the actual set of genes that are together in these pairs inside of your body, okay, or on your chromosomes. So there's 3 types of combinations if we keep it as simple as possible, okay? So let's say we were talking about a pure tall organism, okay? So that means that if we have big T, so sometimes we like to describe it that big T means that we'll always have a tall trait, little t would mean it's the short trait. Okay, so that's kind of how we usually start off these questions, is that we like to identify what the traits stand for. Okay, but if we ever talk about a pure tall, so because they show up in sets of 2, you have big T and big T. Okay, so the fancy word for this is that this is homozygous, okay? So where that word comes from, homo stands for one, okay? Zygous, zygote, okay? So when the gametes get together, they're going to produce these 2 big T's together, and this is considered to be homozygous dominant because of the fact that this is just the dominant trait that kind of gets matched up as a pair, okay? So we call this pure or homozygous, okay? So you guys are going to be so familiar with these terms that it's not even going to make a difference, okay? Now, the other way that we can also get another organism out of this is the fact that it can be a pure short. So pure short would just mean that in order for us to see a short organism, they have to get together as a set of genes, but only the 2 little t's, let's say if that's the trait, can show up together to produce this little small t's, okay? So we consider this a homozygous, so similar in that idea, but this time because the trait is showing up as recessive, and that's the only way that we can get a short plant, okay? Little t is our genotype, little t's together is our genotype for this particular organism that would produce and show this trait, okay? Now, the hybrids, okay, and this is what I'm talking about. So, big T, little t is what we would get, but what kind of thing would this, what kind of trait would this show? It would still be a tall plant, even though it's a mixture of the 2, okay? So that's that principle of dominance, is that one trait can actually overpower the other one. So that big T is going to overpower the little t in there, and we call this a heterozygous, okay? Dominant trait. Okay, so heterozygous, hetero means many, 2, okay? Zygous, zygote, okay? And then this would show the dominant trait. Now, the other thing too that I want you guys to realize as well, heterozygous would just obviously tell us, especially if there's a dominance situation, that the dominant trait is going to be there. So you don't always have to include that dominant in there. Okay? Sound good? All right.